Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Future Horizons podcast, Future Horizons of Autism. And we are here with Dr. Temple Grandin, Dr. Wendela Whitcomb Marsh, and Miss Bobbi Sheahan. And we are going to talk today about working while autistic, something near and dear to all of our hearts. And of course, I'm sorry, I should probably mention that Dr. Marsh wrote this particular book, and Temple has a great interest in this area as well, as does Bobbi and myself. So we're going to talk about working while autistic. And I should mention this is part of Wendela's book series, Adulting While Autistic, as we all try to adult sometimes. So, Wendela, do you want to give us a brief overview of what's in your book?
Well, sure. Thank you. Now, when I write my books, I like to put some extra little pieces in it. One is fictional characters. So I might make up for every chapter, there's like the stuff that I put in because I'm a writer, so I'm going to put in stuff, or why write a book? But then after I put in my 2 cents, then I make up fictional characters and show how each one of them might have a different challenge with that, or might have a different solution to a challenge, hoping that the readers will find one that they might say, oh, that might work for me. But also at the end of that, I always include something written by actually autistic people because I'm not autistic. So I want to elevate those voices and let the people who really know share what they know. And with the series, starting with independent living while autistic, dating while autistic, and relating while autistic. And I was married to an autistic man for 27 years, my late husband. So I had fun writing those and remembering our good times. Then parenting while autistic. There are so many books for parents of autistic children, but sometimes the parents are autistic. And finally, working while autistic. It's such a challenge for so many, not I mean, these days, not just autistic people, but a lot of people are struggling to find and keep a job that nurtures them. So that was what I was hoping to do in this book, is to give some encouragement and some tips and ideas about what might work for people.
Definitely. And I know, Temple, this is one of the things that's most important to you is people with autism being able to find a way to contribute to the world, a way to interact with the world and bring their gifts to the rest of the world, the rest of us. And do you want to speak on that for a moment?
Um, I work with livestock handling equipment. I had to go out on these big construction projects, building great big plants, and supervise installation of my equipment. And I worked with people that had large metal fabrication shops and machine shops that were definitely autistic and very autistic, and 20 patents. And they started out with shop classes in high school, started out little teeny weeny shops, do little projects, gradually grow, or started out working on cars. And this is what makes me really crazy, is that one autistic's playing video games in the basement, where another one owns a machine shop, as I go back and forth between these worlds. And the interesting thing about the visual thinkers like me, and I discuss this in my book, Visual Thinking, is I'm an object visualizer. A lot of these people cannot do abstract math, but they have extreme mechanical aptitude and can build anything. And I'll tell you how to get them off the video games. Slowly introduce fixing cars. And they're going to find that fixing cars is more interesting than video games. That's actually been successful in 5 or 6 cases. But I'm seeing too many smart kids that have never gone shopping by themselves. They're a teenager, never gone shopping. Everything's done for them. They're not learning any skills. We've got to learn skills. And I want to mention something I thought was very interesting, is that I read Bill Gates' new book. It's now official. Bill is on the spectrum. And we're the same generation. And when we were 9 years old, we had to sell stuff for charity. You had to knock on doors and you had to talk to people. And we also had to be hosts and hostesses at parents' parties and talk to guests. Even the normal kids today are scared to talk to people. And there's a scene in the HBO movie where I walk up to the editor of our State Farm magazine and I get his card. That scene is real. And I just was looking at some of the stuff. Jean Goodall died, and there was a little obituary about her. And one of the ways she got into doing her chimpanzee work, she called up Leakey on the phone. She called him. Yeah, I did a lot of stuff like that. Well, we need these skills. And then right now, one autistic geeky kid, Microsoft's going to pay him $100 million. And, your real top mathematicians are all autistic. I tell business people, we need their skills. It's something we need.
That's interesting,
And
Temple. You mentioned just being able to just go up and approach people who others might not have approached. Do you think maybe in that case your autism kind of gave you the, well, it's okay, I'm just going to talk to them, where other people might have felt?
I think it's a combination where the autism gave me drive, but I'm seeing too many students today. I've got a student right now in my class. I've got 3 of them doing badly. They will not answer the emails. They're not coming up to me after class. I begged them last week to come up to me.
Mm.
And this has all gotten worse since COVID. Way worse. They just don't want to talk. And I think when I read that Bill Gates also had to sell stuff for charity, that's good training. That
Yeah.
helped me to go up and get the editor's card. And I started writing for that magazine. I became livestock editor. That was a gigantic door. I saw that door. A lot of kids don't see it, or they're too chicken to walk through the door. And and I had to go up to the houses, knock on the door, and sell candy to them. And I'm realizing just what important training that was. Now, once Bill Gates and I got to computers, that's where we parted ways. We both had access to the same state-of-the-art teletype terminal to the big, gigantic IBM mainframe. I dropped the class. I couldn't do it. I could log into the thing. That was about it. Bill Gates took off with it. He's a math head. I'm not. But our early childhood upbringing was very, very similar. And I
That's
think really
interesting.
helpful.
It just brings in
Yeah.
how important the social skills are to getting started.
Well, and then also when I was in high school, I had a little sign painting business, and I learned to sell the work by just showing off the signs. And then that morphed into cattle handling equipment, and I learned to show off my drawings. I just showed off my work. That's how I got started. I sold the jobs rather than selling myself. Just show the work off.
Yeah,
Show the drawings to them. That's what I did.
Yeah.
absolutely.
And too many kids that aren't learning any work skills. Ideally, we should start with paper route substitutes. Grandparents come up to me all the time. They just got to find out they're on the spectrum. They all have decent jobs because they had paper routes at age 11. And I know those are gone. But how about walking Mr. Jones's dog, where you're working for somebody outside the family? Or you have a church volunteer job, and then the pastor is the boss. You're working for somebody outside the family, and then while still in high school, getting real jobs and learning how to keep them. Really important. And I just talked to a vet student just the other day that she couldn't get to the clinic on time. And I said, this is something, yes, we can make some accommodations, but that's not one of them. So if the clinic opens at 8 and there's a surgery scheduled for 8, you got to be there. You know what? You need to start work at 7. And then you'll probably get there on time. And I think something that will help people on time is using old-fashioned clocks with hands. I think they give a better idea of the passage of time. When I was a child, with this great big one at school, and the second hand went round and round, and then the minute hand would go click, and you could actually see it move a little bit. And I could look at the clock dial and go, 7 in the morning is breakfast, noon is lunch, 5:30 is dinner. I could see that on the clock dial. And that's a simple thing to do.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Wendell, what do you think the first step is for anybody trying to get into the working world?
Well, I think there's like Temple said, getting yourself out there. So if somebody's maybe out of college, and there's a lot of like job fairs, career fairs, Now that can seem overwhelming. If you go to like the big, maybe it's in the gymnasium of your college and there's all these tables and booths everywhere, someone can get to that door and then feel like I can't go in there and just turn around and go home and not get to make those connections. But I would encourage people to go in, look around, and maybe find a table on the side by the wall without a big crowd of people around it, and go and talk to someone who doesn't have. Don't think this is a whole room full of crowds that I can't do. Think there's one person that I can give them my portfolio or my resume and I can get their card. And then just do it at the speed and the pace that you're comfortable rather than thinking you have to take over that whole room.
No.
Find someone to make a connection with. Um, and once you get in the job, I've hired people on the spectrum. I've got friends on the spectrum. Of course, my late husband and two of our kids. But working in a job like in an office, the two biggest things that get in people's way I've found are sensory overload and social overload. If you're someplace where people are always coming by because you don't have a door to close to an office, they're coming by and gossiping, or if everything is too loud, too smelly, too bright. A lot of people loved the pandemic, not the pandemic, not the COVID, but
Right.
the idea of working from home.
Yeah.
And it was just such a, suddenly they could do their work and be really, really productive. But many found going back to the office when they were required to, it was so much harder for them. They were burned out. And I wish that everybody could just keep working from home on the jobs that allow that.
Right.
Because then someone can control their own environment.
Well,
Right.
the other thing I used to do when I worked for the
Yeah.
magazine is I never
Mhm.
wrote an article in the office. I would write my articles in the morning, but then I loved to stop by the office in the afternoon because I had to pick up my photos from the photo lab. This is the old days, you got to remember. And the
Yeah.
photo lab was right near the office. Then spend about an hour in the office because it's a connection you get in the office.
That's
You know,
true.
I actually
Yeah.
kind of prefer the hybrid approach where there's some going into the office because you make connections you don't make when you're home.
Yes.
But serious writing, serious drawings, getting serious work done, drawings, that was all done at home. And I would do
Yeah.
that in the morning, and then I do my errands in the afternoon and stop by the office.
That hybrid, that's a great
Yeah,
idea
I think the
because you get the
hybrid
best
is
of
actually,
both.
for a lot of people, it's actually the best approach. I mean, a
I
lot of
agree.
corporations now are saying, okay, you got to come in 2 days a week. And the rest of the time you can work from home.
Yeah.
Or a certain number of hours a day or something. I mean,
Yeah. I like,
I do think having an office that you can shut the door to makes things a lot easier. The open plan offices, I could not work in one.
Oh, I hate them. And then in
yeah.
the 70s, they didn't even have cubicles around them. And then one of the meat companies I worked with decided to get rid of the cubicles and go open desks. I'll tell you right now, the employees hate it. And we won't say what the company is because everybody hates
So
just
even the
desks
neurotypical people
open.
do not
And they
like the
recently
open.
did this. I visited their office. I think it's awful.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
these cubicles, you've got some privacy.
Mhm.
that's true. I mean, even though you don't have the noise filtration,
Well, you do have noise canceling headsets.
that's
And the
true.
other thing they need to be getting rid of in offices, the number one thing is LED lights that flicker.
Mm,
And you need to take out this thing right here, Apple phone, set it for slow motion video, and you just do regular slow motion video, you'll find the lights that flicker. There's one thing that offices need to do, they need to get rid of that. So what do we do if we're stuck with no windows and these lights that flicker? Wear a hat and go out and buy a lamp that does not flicker, a real bright one, and put it on your desk. That will
Smart.
fix that problem. But on the other hand, don't wear headphones all the time, because if you wear them all the time, it'll make noise sensitivity worse. It will make it worse. If you've ever had wax taken out of your ears and it sounds loud, well, that's because your brain was compensating for the wax plug in your ear. You need
Wow.
to have them off for at least half the day. But you really got to just sit down and do some serious work. Then you can put them on. Another thing that will help with a lot of jobs and save a lot of jobs, let's say it's a job like working at Starbucks or working at McDonald's is, okay, cleaning one of the machines, there might be 5 or 6 steps. Make your own pilot's checklist. If someone goes yak, 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 maybe 7 or 8 steps, I don't remember them. Write them down in a pilot's checklist format. We need to teach people how to do that. I used to make my own checklists. And if they don't want to disclose, they can just say, pilots need a checklist. I need one too. That would save a ton of jobs.
Yes.
Absolutely would save a ton of jobs. And then let's avoid the crazy multitasking, takeout window, lunch rush craziness. Those jobs probably need to be avoided. There's plenty of other good jobs.
Yeah.
I just don't have the processor speed to handle that.
Right. Know your limits. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that would be a limit.
Definitely. Definitely. That's for someone that's more social.
Well, the thing is, I'm so interested when I read that Bill Gates had to do the same party host thing, and selling candy for charity. I had to do the same thing, and I'm realizing what good training that was. It's also something our lowest income families can do. It doesn't cost anything to implement that.
Uh-huh.
For sure. I know, Bobbi, you were talking earlier, before we came on to record, you were talking about something I found interesting, which was social-wise, buying small gifts as a way to start an interaction.
Yes, and once we get everybody in the office together, what are we going to do? We need some sort of a go-to or a script or a little gift. I don't care what it is, something cute or fun or related to your job that can be a point of connection with people. So an example, I have my daughter crochets these little things, little bluebird. And I have some of them on my desk or things like this. I have little potatoes like this that I've given to coworkers. And they really, one of my coworkers left and went to another job and emailed me a picture of his potato at his desk at the new place because he was just so touched. People really do want connection. And I think post-pandemic, with easing back into a lot of people returning to work, it's really important. And Temple, you showed us a couple examples of things that people have given to you relating to your work. I think the ram over your shoulder is a cool one. Can you tell us about some of the items that?
Oh yeah, this is from my student. And I'll put it, for some reason the camera's making my name backwards here, but it was a gift from my student, which is really nice. While we're going through the junk on my desk, our credit union gave out old pickup squeezy toys. That's what I learned to drive on. It looked exactly like this back in the 60s. 3 on the tree, horrendous clutch. If I hadn't learned to drive, there would have been no cattle industry.
Mm-hmm.
There would have been no farm arrangement job.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have been able to get out to the places I had to go. And it's going to take a whole lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing over a month on dirt roads to my aunt's mailbox on the ranch, 3 miles to the box, 3 miles back, before we went near any traffic. Big parking lots, stadium. You might be there for a month, 20 minutes a day. Take it really, really slow. Take it very, very slow in a totally safe place. But too many are not learning how to drive. It's just going to take longer. After I got my license, I went an entire year before I went near any freeway ramps.
Mm-hmm.
Go into it slowly.
Neurotypical kids, a lot of them don't learn to drive now either. And there really is a tremendous amount of fear and anxiety around that topic with a lot of people.
About driving.
I don't know. I have, people afraid to get on airplanes, afraid to get out on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to worry about falling in a restaurant. Broke everything in my nose here, hitting a restaurant table edge. Fell like that. Smashed everything up there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Well, I don't know. I can't be afraid of every restaurant table, but a restaurant table got me. And I have to just, I'm careful.
Mm-hmm.
that's all you can
Drive
do.
the speed limit, obey the rules. Yeah. But my career options would have been really limited without driving.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't have gone, like, I've got to do a story on a dairy or on a ranch or a feed yard. I mean, I've got to go there. There's no bus service out to where the feed yards were at. Also, I got another connection doing that job. I went to an Arizona on a stock show party, and there's a scene where I meet the wife of the plant manager. They changed it just a little bit. It actually was the wife of their insurance agent. I'm not kidding. And she liked my hand embroidered shirt, and that made the connection. And I made my own 3-year self-made internship at that plant. There were some people there that really helped me.
Nice.
And the press pass got me into a lot of things for free. And I was a good livestock editor, and I wrote good articles. I made myself good at my job. Now, another issue I had, and that also showed in the HBO movie, was hygiene. That you got to clean it up. Period. That one's not negotiable. There's a scene in there where the boss slammed down the deodorant. And back in the 70s, you had these gunky, horrible roll-ons. They don't even make those anymore. I just use a solid, unscented stick. You don't even feel it.
Yeah.
That you just got to clean it up. You just can't be a rude, filthy, dirty slob. You just can't be. And the other thing I had to learn, you just can't keep going on and on and on talking about some carnival ride or something I like just over and over again. And the other thing at work, let's leave the controversial subjects at home. Let's not bring those to work. I'm not going to discuss what they are. You all know what they are. We don't discuss those since this is being recorded. You don't need to bring those to work. It's just that simple. Now, another thing that got 2 really competent autistic people fired from jobs, one was engineering job, and the other one was doing social media for an art museum, was they did too much autism advocacy and not enough engineering. You go into the job, you better knuckle down and do the engineering, or you better get that museum's traffic up by advertising it on the Facebook page and talking about it. And they got nosing into too much other employees' business, and they sort of didn't know where the boundaries are. And that's something that I had to learn. Another thing you got to learn is that every job, no matter how good it is, will have something wrong with it. No places are perfect. The difference between the good places and the bad places, the good places have less problems. But they're all going to have problems. That's it. Susie's going to smoke in the break room, and then if you tattle on her, half the office is going to hate your guts for it. So it's not worth tattling on that. These are some things that I had to learn, kind of the hard way. I had some good job coaches. I criticized some welding. I said it looked like pigeon doo-doo. And the plant engineer pulled me into his office, shut the door, and calmly told me I had to apologize to Whitey the welder for the rude talk. And he made me go up to the cafeteria, like right now, and apologize. I didn't say the welding was wonderful, but I had to apologize for the rude talk. He told me exactly what to do. He was a perfect job coach. Thank you, Harley. You got no training in job coaches, and you were one of the best.
And you bring
I'm
up
wondering.
two things, personal comments and personal hygiene. If you could, and Dr. Wendy, you may have some tips about this. I say find one or more people to coach you about those things and tell them, it's okay for you to tell me I smell bad. I'd like to know. Or it's okay for you to tell me what comments are appropriate here and what are not. Can you speak to that a bit?
Well, I think part of the problem with the engineers is that she didn't get enough engineering done. The first thing I did was to prove I could do the job. I can remember my very first cattle feeders meeting, and they didn't want to let me in. And I made sure I summarized those talks super accurately, and I got credit for that. I made sure I did a really good job. I was going to prove to them that I was going to cover their meeting really accurately.
That's important. Going back to what you said, Bobbi, I was thinking along the same lines, like just if you could have, whether you get along well with your boss or with somebody else that's alongside you, to just pull aside and say, hey, look, I have autism. I have trouble sometimes knowing what to do socially, and just please let me know if I'm going off course in any way.
And you can't just be vague saying you're rude to colleagues or something like that. You have to be specifically told exactly what you did wrong. And I tell
Yes.
bosses and parents, it's like training someone how to behave in a foreign country. Everything is foreign. You've got to just tell them exactly.
Right.
I remember once I met a young man who wanted a job, but his hair was very long. There's nothing wrong with that, but it was visibly greasy and tangled. And his mother was trying to convince him to keep his hair shampooed and neat and tied back. And he was digging in his heels, saying, "It's how well I do the job that matters. It should not matter at all what my hair looks like." And of course, it should not, but it absolutely does.
It does matter. I think it's fine
It
to be
does matter.
eccentric. Okay, you have blue hair, but it looks really nice. You know, I mean, bright red glasses and blue hair, maybe a little eccentric, but it
Yeah.
looks,
I can
it
take them
looks
off.
really nice. I mean, I have my way that I dress, but you just cannot be a rude, filthy, dirty slob.
Yeah,
You just
exactly.
And I like in your book, Dr. Wendy, you talk about for the interview and for the job, dressing one level above the job you want or the job you get. I find what helped me and what's helped a lot of people is kind of having a uniform. And I know, Temple, you consider yourself to kind of have attire that, you know, is kind of your trademark and that we know it's you. You can get the same thing in several different colors, right? But it's all got to be.
I've got lots of different.
Yeah, but it's going to be clean and freshly washed. And I've had to say to people before, you may not think it's important, but the boss does.
Yes, and I think, I mean, I like wearing the same kind of comfortable things. It's got to have pockets, you know, it's got to be machine washable. But if somebody has 5 of the exact same color and style and wears it every day, other people will believe that they're wearing dirty clothes every day. And it's not true. But if you said like getting a different color, a different style, a slightly different, it still should feel good because we have to have clothing that feels good to us, or part of the mind is always thinking about the itchy tag. But that, as you said, it should be clean and pressed and not the identical thing. And as far as the interview, dressing a little bit better, because you want to show that you're serious. Although if a woman is going for a job in a warehouse, she probably shouldn't wear high heels to the interview because that looks like she can't do the job. But then once you're in the job, dress more like the other people in your job, not trying to dress like the boss. And, you know, you don't want to wear a suit and tie and carry a briefcase if everyone else is not dressed like that. So observing others.
Truck in a warehouse.
Yeah.
And I think there's a quote from one of Temple's books, and I forget the exact quote, but it's about to fit in, you have to look like you fit in. And I can't remember which book. It might be.
Is it be yourself, but you have to fit in a little?
Yes.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the tightrope that you walk, is being yourself, but fitting in a little so you're not too far outside the norm.
Right.
I knew a young woman who discovered that she was autistic, and she had a good job that she loved. So for her, work was not the problem. She always wore a velvet bow, like a 4-inch long bow on her hair. And she just always had one. And it was a little, you know, quirky or eccentric, which, you know, I think is fine.
Yeah.
But her coworkers saw that as something that they liked about her. It was a difference that they valued. So when it was her birthday party, everybody made bows for the cards and for the decorations because they recognized this is who you are. You're a woman that wears a hair bow every single day.
And it looked nice. And it looked nice. You see, it's something that's got to, you know, it's got to look decent.
It looks decent. That's right.
I can't believe I was on a plane just recently, and I had a guy sit next to me, a great big huge guy, in his underwear.
What?
Boxer shorts and the undershirt with the strap, not a basketball shirt. Yes.
They let him on the plane?
on a plane.
Oh my
And
God.
relatively recent, this was just a few months ago.
Mhm.
Like, you've
Oh,
got
no.
to be kidding. To
Wow.
go to the airport in?
Wow.
Well, if he showed up for an interview on that, how could anybody possibly take him seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't think he
Well,
would get the job.
Ridiculous.
if
No.
people need to be
My
told, they need to
goodness.
be told. And a little bit of bluntness, especially if it's done politely, can really
Mhm.
go a long way. And if it's not being taught when you're young, you got to get it sometimes. And he obviously never heard it. My kids used to do children's theater, and their favorite director used to stand up in front of the kids at the first rehearsal for every play. And she would say, "Look, people, we are going to be under hot lights. We're going to be sharing costumes. Don't be the smelly kid." And everybody would kind of laugh, but it opened the conversation. There was a comfortable way, if it came up, because you can believe it did come up, to say, "Listen, you remember when we talked about not being the smelly kid? We need to get you some deodorant. You need to shower. You need to wash your clothes," or whatever it was that needed to be said. But the conversation had been open, at least.
Right. Because you don't usually know if you
Okay.
smell. That's the
Yeah.
problem. You're like, I'm okay. You can smell other things, but you're used to your own smell, perhaps. So yeah, having somebody
Yeah.
that's a friend, somebody who would say, "Psst, hey, guess what? Yeah, you're you could do with a little deodorant, that kind of thing.
Slam that deodorant down on the desk.
Just like any
Right.
other kind of coaching.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
Very much so. So, what do you think is the biggest impediment to people with autism getting into the workforce? Or is it harder to get in or stay in?
Well, I've known a lot of people who struggle with the interview process.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them just are so anxious
Sure.
that they end up performing not the way they would like. Other people just practice so hard and mask so hard that they get the job, but then they can't maintain that level because it's exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
So I've known a lot of people who can continue to get jobs, but after a certain number of months, they just can't hold together all that masking and pretending to be okay with the lights.
What kind of jobs are they getting? Maybe they're not the right jobs. What kind of,
You know,
like being the hostess at a restaurant, something like that?
Jobs that are too people.
well, yeah. And you mentioned Starbucks the other day, and one young woman I know, she loved her job at Starbucks when it was a certain way. She wanted to be at the window because then all the fan and all the crowds at the counter were away from her. And she loved the one-on-one with the people that drove up. And it was short and scripted. She could say a few things, get to know them, and then they'd leave. But for her, the problem came, excuse me, when one day she was doing what she thought was her job, which is to chat with the person, make the customer feel great about themselves. And apparently the customer's drink was ready and sitting there, and the manager came up behind her and tapped her on the shoulder and said, "Keep moving, here's the drink." Now that tapping on the shoulder, that was crossing the line for her. She could not continue to function in that role because it just felt like a violation to her. And she ended up having to leave and get another job because that was just too much. And it was difficult for her to find the medium ground between, yes, your job is to chat and make them feel good about themselves, but only until the drink is ready. And as soon as the drink is ready, you need to move on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And some drinks take more time to get ready than others. And when the drink is ready, you serve it. Okay,
that's right.
That's a real simple rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and I guess she didn't have that rule.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing, in the 50s, one of the things I think that helped me and a lot of these grandparents that come up to me that find out they're autistic is social roles were taught in a much more structured way. Like, let's say I'm going to just do something really nasty. I'm going to stir my drink here with my finger. Well, instead of screaming no, my mother would say, use the spoon. People think that's disgusting when you put your finger in. They give the instruction and the reason. I call it teachable moments.
Yes.
And that's something, and it was done with all children. Grown-ups, no matter where you went, corrected kids when they were little. Like if I touched too much stuff in the store, the clerks would go, only touch the things you're going to buy. They would give the instruction. Grown-ups, kids up to about 10 years old got corrected by grown-ups everywhere. And I think that helped a lot of these grandparents, keep their jobs and decent jobs like engineer, pharmacist, guy who built fences. A dangerous point for a lot of people that have been successful in jobs is changing bosses. I almost lost my farm arrangement job when the magazine was sold because a lot of my articles were not bylined. And when the new manager came in, he didn't see all the articles I wrote. He just thought it was weird. But fortunately, Susan, who did the ad layout, says, Jim doesn't like you. We're going to have to get together a big scrapbook of all your articles. And I did that, and it saved my job.
Wow.
Because about 3/4 of the stuff I wrote, he couldn't see. It wasn't bylined. That's just the way the magazine did it.
When you mentioned being specifically taught social skills when we were younger, it's just brought to memory back in the 60s, whenever we would have an open house, when parents would come and meet the teachers, every time on that day before we went home, the teachers would instruct us, remember, you must introduce your parents to me. You must introduce us to each other properly. And the proper introduction, you start with either the one who is more important socially or the one who is older, which always left me in a quandary. How am I supposed to tell who is more important and who is older between my teacher and my parent? So I don't think I ever learned.
That's a tough one.
It just made me so nervous. But now that's not taught. I've never heard of that since when I had been a teacher. We didn't tell our kids to introduce us, and maybe we should be.
I think done with Bill Gates when we were little. Mother had high expectations, but there were some accommodations. Like when we went on vacation, we had to go on a ferry, one of these ferries you drive the cars onto it. It had a horrible horn. And everybody liked to sit up on the deck in the sun. And I hated getting blasted by the horn. They let me ride in the cabin below. Yeah, we're going to go on the ferry, but you can ride in the cabin below. And when we went to family dinners, I had places where I could exercise and run, like a great big hallway.
Oh, nice.
So there was some accommodations, but we're going to have family gatherings without having you wreck them.
Yeah, and I'm remembering my late husband. We would sometimes go to a big wedding, and it might be somebody I knew from work that he didn't know, and there'd be all these tables at the reception, and he would just at some point excuse himself, go out and maybe walk around the block where there's like no people at all, and then come back. Didn't make a big deal.
Yeah.
No, those are things that you could do. And if I got really stressed out, there was some spare bedrooms, some toys on it. That were special toys for Granny's house.
Nice.
But there was some accommodations, but I could see some kids now lining the cars up to get on the ferry that would be running out of the car and running away. Oh no. You could go on that ferry, period.
It wouldn't be safe.
I hated that boat, but I was allowed to ride in the cabin below.
Nice.
So what do you think, if you're interviewing for a job and you're autistic, in my mind, it would be very beneficial to just sit down and say, look, I'm autistic. I'm going to be, like, if you're Temple, you'd say, like, I'm going to be the best designer of cattle chutes you're ever going to meet, but I do have issues. And then say,
don't show the portfolio to HR because they don't care about it. You got to show that portfolio to people that are going to appreciate it. Like, they can show you the drawing right here. This is the drawing that I used to sell Cargill and having me design the front end of every Cargill plant in North America. I had to show that portfolio to people that care about it.
And who get it.
Man,
right.
The cattle buyers.
Right.
A ranch owner. I never showed anything to HR.
No.
Yeah.
It's because you have to show the portfolio to the people that would really appreciate it.
Definitely. And hopefully your boss
the interview for me was just lay the drawings on the table, lay out the photographs.
Right. But also
this is
say,
what I can do.
I have autism. I'm autistic. I have these great qualities, and with these other issues, I just might need guidance.
Mhm.
That kind of thing. Just lay it out on the table. What would you think of that?
Well, you see, back then when I was, autism just wasn't a big issue. Being a woman was a big issue.
Oh,
And I just had to prove that
Mhm.
I could do it.
Mhm.
And there were some people that were bad, mostly middle management. Middle management was where all my trouble was. It wasn't the big owners, and it wasn't the guys working on the line. It was middle management. 90% of my trouble was there.
yeah.
But I made myself very good at what I did.
Mhm.
Yes.
And I would sometimes go on and on talking about adult subjects. I knew enough not to bring up the controversial subjects.
Mhm.
That
So
was sort of,
if you're
this
disclosing,
stuff just needs to get left at home.
Mhm. Not talk about those things that
You
could
don't need
sort
to
of,
talk about those things.
yeah, yeah. If you're disclosing autism, I think especially if it's in connection with your strengths, it makes sense because if they're put off by it, you don't want to work for them anyway, quite honestly,
Well,
even if
another
it
thing
means,
is all these top end mathematicians at Microsoft's paying $100 million for one guy with black curly hair.
Mhm.
Uh, and to be a top mathematician, you have to be autistic.
Agreed. Well,
This
and it,
guy's
You
going to
want
be
the
in charge of
benefit.
your AI. They'll pay $100 million
Yeah.
for one guy that's
Mhm.
probably
Right.
autistic.
Like, I'm autistic. I'm going to be the best mathematician you've ever met,
Mhm.
but just tell me if I'm smelly.
Mhm.
That kind of thing.
Visual
Just
thinkers
lay
like
it
me
out.
can't do higher math. Uh,
Mhm.
and I discovered this whole wonderful world of what's called industrial process equipment. It's
Mhm.
the mechanical side of engineering. And in these big plants, the visual thinkers who can't do higher math, they designed all the mechanical things.
Mhm.
And the plant and the degree engineers would do boilers and refrigeration. That requires a lot more math. But there was
Mhm.
all this wonderful world of shop people, and they didn't just build things; they invented and patented stuff.
Mhm.
Good designs that really worked.
Smart.
I've worked with them.
Yeah.
I spent 25 years doing it, and it makes me kind of crazy as I go back and forth between the worlds. That one talented person is playing video games in the basement, and you can forget about video game design. AI is going to take that one over. But for
Mhm.
my kind of thinker, that's a non-mathematician, skilled trades, they're going to be laughing all the way to the bank as AI wipes out a whole bunch of management jobs and high-end skilled trade. You're going to be laughing all the way to the bank right
Mhm.
now.
True.
I want to comment
Um,
on the interviewing thing and the disclosure thing a little bit. So, our society
yes.
really rewards confidence and being able to interview well. And Jennifer, back to your suggestion of maybe you just disclose it and kind of address how it can be good. So, a person I'm very close to who is autistic interviewed for a job for an after school program taking care of kids and was asked in the interview, and she was very rehearsed in the interview, kind of probably too rehearsed. She was asked, have you worked with kids before? And she drew a blank because it wasn't one of the answers she rehearsed. And she stared right back at the interviewer, not sarcastic at all, because she's autistic. She's not a sarcastic person. That's not how her brain works. But she said, well, I am a former child. And there was this awful, awkward silence because they thought she was trying to like make fun of them. She did not get the job. But about a
Oh.
year and a half later, she
Mhm.
interviewed with different people for a very similar job. And she disclosed her autism at the beginning of the interview process. And they loved
That
her
was the
and they
job.
love her. And she's had that job for almost 2 years now. And she does puzzles with the kids. They love to do puzzles with her. And she's thriving in it. But it's not because she didn't mask. She didn't say, hire me in spite of the fact I'm autistic. She embraced
Mhm.
it, and they did too.
Great.
And I've talked to some people who don't want to disclose their autism.
Mm.
They're afraid of how they'll be perceived.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
But uh, you know, I think you can still say, I'm the kind of person who I do my best work when it's kind of quiet.
Mm.
I'm sensitive to sounds. So sometimes if it's really noisy, I might wear my headphones, but I'm not listening to music or the game. It's just noise canceling.
Mm-hmm.
Or I do my best work when I can work from home. And And to flip it, to not say, I need this, but to say, I'll be productive. I'll do my best work for you when I have these things.
Absolutely.
Then they might not have to ever say, because I'm autistic. That's a
Right.
personal decision.
Absolutely.
Some people.
For the magazine, of course, it was pre-computer back in those days. I'd bring the
Yeah.
stories in that I'd written.
Yeah.
And then I'd come in, I'd come into the office to have lunch, stop at the photo lab, do some other errands, get blueprints printed, and I'd bring my stories in.
Mhm.
But
Nice.
even now, I still have a tendency to sort of like want to stop by the office in the afternoon and get my serious work done in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Writing
Yeah.
work.
Your brain's
Yeah.
fresher in the morning
I like that.
anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I try to do.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. One thing too I wanted to ask y'all about was communication at work when you do have to work closely with people. Let's say that, you've got your headphones, they're working for you, but what kind of rules, just general rules or practices could people with autism follow to communicate well at work and make sure they're understood well?
I like to have a clear, like when I do a team project, okay, we're working on remodeling a plant or building one. I have certain equipment that it's my responsibility, right up to a certain switch on the line,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all my stuff there. And then somebody else's responsibility for all the stuff further on into the plant. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if I see them making mistakes in there, I don't go wiping their nose in it. You got to learn not to do that. When I do writing projects, when it's worked the best for me, is to have a piece of the document that's mine. Okay, I will do this section on the cow, for example. Somebody else is going to do the pig section, and that tends to help. The other thing I've learned is project loyalty. I remember one time I was going over this animal welfare document, and I found mistakes in the pig section. I just corrected them. I didn't tell, and they were technical mistakes. There was no way that it would be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I knew the literature better than most of the other people did. I just corrected. I didn't even say anything, and it just went right through copy editing. And I have a concept called project loyalty. My job was to get the document out, not fight with them. Project loyalty. You've got to get the job done, and don't do stuff that's going to, jeopardize it.
Oh, yeah,
That's
it's so
something I
important.
had to learn. But it works a lot better for me when I was in a big committee meeting with 20 people, and this was, I don't know, 10 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. And I said, I like homework. I like a piece of this that I'll do a really good job, and I'll do this portion of the document, turn it in a month from now. Clear deadline, clear things I have to do. And I would do the same thing with the jobs, design jobs. I'd size up the client. Is this just fix a few gates? I used to call them Band-Aids, minor surgery, major surgery, and new construction. And so I'd be going into a new client. I got to figure out which category they're in. And some of them just wanted a few gates fixed or something like that, or just change some little thing. And it's sized up. But they also hire me to figure out better ways to remodel stuff. I remember one job I went out on, this big open field was there. And I said, do you own the field? Yes. Well, that's where the new stockyard needs to get built.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can build it without having all the pigs running through it.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't know what they're doing. See, a lot of people, they're too tied in by the fence. I look through the fence and I go, fence is easy to take down.
Look at that big picture. Yeah.
Leasing it out to a farmer to grow crops on it. That's what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking about sometimes people have a boss who gives them directions verbally, which can be a real problem.
Yeah.
But if they immediately get back to their desk and send an email to the boss or the manager saying, thank you for this new job. I'm anxious to get started on it. Let me just review. You want me to do A, B, and C and turn it into you by this date. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a paper trail.
Yes.
So if they come back and say, why didn't you do X, Y, and Z? You can pull up the email and said, but you said to do A, B, and C.
Mhm.
And I turned it in by the date. But
Mhm.
having it in writing is so important, and not all middle managers are good at that. So create your own paper trail with that email, just clarifying what you understand. And then they can clear it up if you didn't understand what they meant.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really good idea. And that everything functions much better that way. If it's all clear in writing,
Yeah.
for sure.
And I think it's good too to ask people, what channels do people use at work to communicate? Because email is great. Some places they use Teams or Zoom or Slack or Chatter or group text to say, what is the best channel to confirm with? Or what's the normal way people communicate around here? Because you might not intuitively know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, it's different everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Every once in a while, somebody has added me to WhatsApp, and it's like, I don't WhatsApp. I just have to say exit group, because I don't do that. If I had a job where I had to do that, I would have to learn it. But I'm retired, so
You
no
don't have
WhatsApp
to.
for me. I don't have to.
That's
Another good thing about written communication, though, and you don't have to do WhatsApp, I promise, but you can also take time to sort of compile how you want to put it. You can sort of take a moment and not be startled.
Oh, and that's why I never put in who I'm sending it to until I've already reread it and made sure that I got it right.
oh,
Because I will accidentally hit the button and it'll be gone half finished.
Mhm.
And if it's an emotionally charged thing, like there's a problem, I will run it by somebody I know and trust
uh-huh.
and say, do I sound as angry as I am? Because I don't want to sound angry.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And, then they can say, if you take out this one sentence, you'll be fine. Or they can say, you said it the way it is.
Well, and another
One
tip,
thing
and
I did when
go
I first
ahead.
started, I got scared, walked out of my very first speaking engagement in a grad school class,
Hmm.
and then I got invited to do my very first talk on cattle handling design. And I practiced it, and I'm really glad I did it in front of an old engineer that was probably in his 60s. And I took his advice. He said, you're way too negative. You can't just say everything that's all out there is terrible. You just can't say that.
Mhm.
You've got to present things in a more positive way. And I followed Tom's advice. I really thank him for that. But, when you say, now this is something that isn't right, but this is how you fix it, put a more positive spin on it. But you can't just go up there and say every cattle handling facility is awful.
Yeah.
And that's what I did on that first practice through of this talk. My very first national talk, American Society for Agricultural Engineers. And I'm so glad that I practiced that in front of him and I took his advice.
You were always open to good advice, and that has helped.
The other thing that's interesting, there's been a lot of talk about peer mentoring. None of my mentors were peers. Starting in high school, my science teacher was, probably in his 40s.
Mm-hmm.
The Norb Goskowitz at the Swift plant was, I don't know, a retired military officer. He was a good mentor. Tom, the engineer, critiqued my speech, was had gray hair. Anne at the ranch, another really important mentor, was, in her 50s. The people that really helped me when I was in high school and my early career were all older. There was a contractor starting a new business that seeked me out. We built jobs together for 10 years. But I think that's really interesting that the people that helped me professionally, they're all older. Philip Stiles, animal science professor, older. It wasn't the real young ones that helped me.
Yeah.
I just thought that's interesting. And then when I look up mentors online and autism, everything's peer mentors. And almost all the mentors I had in high school on were all older. They were not peers. I don't know what that means, but that's just my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there might be a peer can probably tell someone if they smell. Or a peer can say, when you go out on the playground, don't shake hands and say, how do you do when you meet someone new. We say, hey, or whatever they say. But a peer is not going to have the kind of advice that you got from Tom.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of us need to be reminded, I certainly do sometimes, just because something is true, we don't have to say it out loud. All those negative things in your first draft of your talk were all true.
Right.
But Tom reminded you, but you don't have to say it all out
I
loud.
was working for a feedlot construction company, and Tom was one of the engineers. And I used to like to go talk to Tom, and sometimes we'd go out and have lunch. And then I thought Tom would be a good person to practice my very first national meeting talk at. And I was so surprised he told me how negative it was. I took his advice.
Mhm.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Tom.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. Being able and open to change.
Mhm.
Yeah, I changed it. I
It's
changed it.
so
Well, and
important for all of us. Yeah.
treating,
And when I
treating,
when Harley told me, apologized for the rude talk about the welding, I went right up to the cafeteria. I sat down at Whitey's table, and I apologized for the rude talk.
Mhm. Mhm.
I remember it as well as it happened yesterday.
You had good, important information, but somebody had to say fact versus tact.
Well, and plant engineer was an older guy. I mean, I guess, I was in my 20s. He probably was in his 50s.
Yeah.
You know,
Sometimes.
old,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was
Sometimes.
just gonna say, old people know a lot,
Yes,
but go on.
yes. And honestly, sometimes you have to take into mind if you have a peer mentor at work, that peer might be going after the same position you are.
Mhm.
Well, these people were not going
Right.
after my position.
Yeah.
What I think most of these people saw that I was worth working with.
Yeah.
That they were all older people, and they spent quite a lot of time with me. Jim, the contractor, seeked me out to design jobs. He was starting a little tiny construction business at the time.
Yeah. But if I were your age and designing cattle handling equipment and working next to you, I might not want to help you too much.
Well, yeah, you see, and the thing is these
Saying.
people were all older. Their
Yeah.
careers were
Yeah.
established. Now, there's a
Yeah.
point where might be asking you to do something at work where you really do need to quit. The construction company I was working for was going broke, and my other job was to handle all their advertising. So I would place the ads like in Beef Magazine, and then I found out they weren't paying for the ads. And the magazines would call me up and say, well, they haven't paid for the ads for 3 months. And I was instructed to lie about it. I
Oh,
quit. That
yeah.
crosses a line I will not cross. I will not steal from the cattle magazines.
Yeah.
For my employer. No, I had to quit. No, I'm not going to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, before we wrap up, is there anything that anybody wanted to put out there and say that they haven't been able to?
Wendela Marsh is talking about sort of the elevator speech about her latest book. Maybe that'd be a good
I'm sorry, I missed part of that.
Oh,
The what?
The elevator speech. In other words, the
Oh.
short speech. An elevator speech is you're in the elevator
Yeah.
with somebody and you got to make the pitch.
oh,
Okay, the elevator pitch for this book.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not practice this because
no pressure.
I got this contract through email, not through an elevator pitch. But I think I would say working is hard. It's hard to find and keep a job that you love. And when you're autistic, it can be even harder. So here's a book that will give you tips and strategies to help you thrive in a career that you love.
Good. I'm in a career that, I really like right now, my age. I'm not 78 now. I'm talking to students. I mean, I just had a great time talking to veterinary students. At one of the veterinary colleges, getting students motivated. And I tell students, try lots of different things. Help professors with their research, read their papers. Then you find out what you like to do in your profession. You also find out some stuff. Oh, I tried that and I'm going to hate it. But that's something you want to find out. But get out, experience, and try lots of things. I told an engineering student when I was visiting the University of Illinois, go look up professors' research, read some papers, and then approach that professor about helping them with their research. And if you've really read one of their papers, professors love that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So I told them,
that's important.
okay, maybe I did something good for that kid's career.
Yeah.
No doubt. No
Mhm.
doubt. What really strikes me about your book and about working while autistic in general is you have two positive sides to it. You have the benefit it does for the the individual who's getting a job and how much that changes your life once you're able to actually get out there and get in the world and be contributing. It really does wonders for your happiness, your self-esteem, everything.
Yes.
It's really, really
Yes.
good. And then on the flip side of that, you have such gifts to bring to the world. And, like they always say, don't hide it under a bushel basket. You
Yes.
take it out into the
Yes.
world, you share it with everybody, and the world is better off for what you have to share that's unique and different.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
working
and
while autistic is good for everybody.
well, I'm glad, and I think we all share this belief that the autistic community and individuals have so much to offer the world
Mhm.
that you know it would be a shame if anybody did not keep moving forward on their potential.
Right,
Absolutely.
right. And yeah, you can't be
These parents do too much for their kids.
Yeah.
I'm seeing kids not learning the most basic life skills.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing smart kids with honors grades, not handle the workplace, end up in the bedroom or the basement. They've got to get them out doing things, and that's what Mrs. Gates did with Bill. She put him in scouting. I was out doing all kinds of kids' activities. Both of our parents didn't let us become recluses in the room.
Yeah. It's a danger these days.
And I wonder if there's a difference, and I don't know, but some people are identified as autistic very young, and some people have no idea until they're adults.
Well, I was a little kid because I had no
Yeah.
age 4, so I was one identified really young.
Yeah, and your mom didn't try to coddle you, but some moms might think, "Oh no, I have a child with a handicap. Let me protect them and keep them safe."
Well, see, and then what happened with this vet student that was always late, and I said, if you got a surgery scheduled for 8:00, you've got to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, she wanted an accommodation for that. I'm going, no. I think what you need to do is work needs to start for you at 7. And then you'll be there at 8.
Yeah.
Now you need to put the alarm clock on the other side of the room, a big loud one. No, you especially in something like a vet clinic, you've got to be there and be on time because you've got clients you're going to be seeing.
Yeah, and what you said about, childhood and being on time just reminded me of something I read in Michelle Obama's book, where when she was 5 and her first day of kindergarten, her mother gave her an alarm clock and said, "Here's how to set it. You're on your own."
Wow.
And then her mother never woke her up from kindergarten through high school.
I was given an
She
alarm
woke
clock.
herself up with her alarm clock.
I don't know if I was 5, but I probably was like 7. It was young. And I was given an alarm clock, and I was taught to wind it and set it and be up. Okay, and that was, but this again, it's a kind of a generational thing. Yeah, I was expected to set the alarm clock, keep it wound, set it.
That's right.
And get up. I think I might have been 7 when I was given an alarm clock.
Yeah, and that's fair. And someone on Facebook recently posted saying, my alarm clock didn't go off this morning, but then it went off at night. What happened?" And I'm thinking, I think we all know what happened. There's an AM and there's a PM, and figure it out. But yeah.
Well, one I had was so old-fashioned that you had to set it like if you're going to get up at 7, you had to set it after 7 at night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was an old-fashioned.
You're winding it.
It didn't have AM.
I remember those. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I had.
You had to do it each night.
Yeah.
I hate it when somebody leaves an alarm clock set in a hotel.
Oh,
be in the hotel, and
Me
then
too.
brings it at 5 o'clock in the morning.
The worst.
Some of the guests left it on that setting.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
sad. I think these
Yeah,
days everybody has phones, so
no,
Yeah.
it happens.
it happens a lot less in hotels. But yes, I remember. Yeah, that
You do.
awful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Well,
You
Dr.
know,
Wendy,
they
where can
don't.
our
They
listeners
get.
find you
I
on
see
the?
too much sort of getting the kid becoming the label. I
Mm,
mean, for me, what's given me satisfaction is having a career that's interesting,
Yeah.
absolutely.
doing interesting things,
Yes.
and I had a chance to go out on some jobs this summer. The metal fabrication shop decided to change the design of my center track restrainer system, but it did not work. The
Oh.
cattle go, no, we're not jumping off a cliff. And there's a thing called a false floor you have to have in there so they don't see it to 8 feet above the ground. Well, they installed that wrong.
Oh,
Oh
Well, the
no.
plant superintendent stuffed empty boxes in it, and cattle thought they had a solid floor to walk on, and that worked. Very quickly
Oh
replaced them
no.
with metal. But those two plants I went back to brand new ones that I just went to this summer
yeah.
to correct
Oh,
this mistake.
Wow.
wow.
Yeah. The second one just texted me and said, "Yep, they finally got the false floor fixed, and it's working."
Good.
There's
They learned.
the other thing is you still have to just teach people basics. My cattle handling stuff. I got to figure each class with these students, it's brand new stuff. The basics are brand new stuff for all
Yeah.
the new students.
Yeah.
Never forget that.
Yeah.
Things that are
Uh-huh.
intuitive to us, that have been taught to us, have to be spelled out.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It should be spelled out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I went out there in the first plan, we got it fixed right away. And the second one, it's somehow almost difficult for me to believe how well it works. And we stuffed some boxes in there,
That's
and it made that
that's
raised the false floor higher, and it worked until they got wet.
you use what you have on hand.
Well, I can show you. I can actually show you a picture of the boxes they stuffed in there, and it actually worked. You see, but if the cattle thinks that you have to design it in such a way that the cattle has the illusion of a floor to walk on.
Sure.
And if you don't have that, the cattle go, no, I'm not jumping off a cliff.
They know better.
No thanks.
I just got to find August of. Yeah, well, we got it fixed, thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Well, maybe I'm not finding it,
That's okay.
but I'm finding, funsies on the ramp at the Denver airport. Oh, here's the alien tunnels at the Denver airport.
The what?
Oh, you haven't heard about our aliens?
No. Where have I been?
No, aliens that live in the basement. You didn't know that?
I missed it.
Look up, Den has its secrets.
Okay.
Look up aliens at the Denver airport.
Oh my goodness.
Aliens at the
Very
Denver
amusing.
airport.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Inhabited by
Intriguing.
And you have pictures?
and they live in the basement.
You have evidence.
Well, we have a store there called Voodoo Donuts,
Oh,
and
they have that in Portland, Oregon, too.
each place that they do it at, they'll have some special thing for that place. And for the Denver airport, they have a great big alien living in the tunnel with secret boxes of Voodoo Donuts.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, I just looked it up and it says Denver International Airport acknowledges extensive underground infrastructure, including a train system and a decommissioned automated baggage system, but refutes the existence of alien bunkers. There's no extraterrestrials under the airport.
That's what they'd like us to believe.
Right.
Well, when they were doing some remodeling, they put all these portable construction walls up with all kinds of alien signs all over them.
That was the second half. Airport staff have occasionally been involved in elaborate pranks, including wearing masks during media tours, leading to some misinformation being mistaken for proof of conspiracy theories.
Oh, fun.
Well, the decommissioned baggage handling system pieces are there. I got to see that.
Well, that
That's
part's
still
valid.
there. That was an expensive mess.
This is super enlightening.
Yes.
Yeah. I had no idea.
Didn't know.
Well, maybe somebody at the airport's trying to get rid of the alien stuff, but about 10 years ago, they were totally playing that up, and they had signs all over the airport, like they were doing remodeling, and there was a construction door, and it said, "Is this a portal to another universe?" I am not kidding. I actually took a picture of it.
But,
It was an
oh my
orange
goodness.
construction door that had like galaxy stuff around it.
Nice. Nice. I
That
like it.
really
Just
makes
runs
Okay.
with
me
it.
want to fly into Denver.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like I should have, last time I was there, I wish I had known.
One thing I
Well,
have to say about the Denver airport, compared to quite a few airports, they got a lot of good, decent food there.
yes.
Good to
That's
know.
one thing they do have.
Yes.
Good to know. Okay.
It's important stuff. You got to eat well while traveling.
Gotta eat.
Well, I have my places when I get back. I'll, go have lunch before I drive home. Places I get down there really early so I can eat at my favorite restaurant, my favorite table.
Nice.
Uh,
What is your favorite restaurant at
Oh,
the
there's one
airport?
place there at breakfast, a place called Elway's, and
Okay.
I could get some bacon and a side of fruit.
uh,
I'll
And I have a
keep
table
that
I
in
like to
mind.
sit at because it's kind of out with enough light so I can read my paper. I'm one of these people that still likes the old-fashioned paper. And
That works for sure. Well, I want to thank everyone for being here today and for talking about the importance of employment, autism coming together, working well autistic.
well, I think I'm a big believer with the younger kids. Start teaching work skills young.
yeah.
Paper route substitutes, chores when they're younger, paper route substitutes where they start to do things outside the family, like walking the neighbor's dog. One
Start young.
12-year-old became the entertainment director at the nursing home he could walk to and does bingo nights for them. That was something that was just figured out in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
There's a lot more of these kind of opportunities. And the instant they're legal age, they need to get real jobs when they're still in high school. But let's not start the job at Christmas when the stores are chaos.
That's too much.
I
Good
remember
advice.
walking into our Barnes and Noble bookstore, which normally be a great place for somebody autistic to work, but not the Christmas wrapping station.
Not at Christmas. Yeah.
It was total chaos there.
Absolutely. Total
It's good to
sense of
remember.
overload,
Yeah.
for sure.
So, Dr. Wendy, where do we find you online?
Oh, well, thanks for asking. Well, my name, WendelaWhitcombMarsh.com. And it's all one word, Marsh. How do I spell my name? Marsh, M-A-R-S-H. WendelaWhitcombMarsh.com.
Yes.
And if I can't spell it, maybe you'll find me online somehow anyway.
I also found you on Instagram, spelled correctly, Wendela.w.marsh. Yes.
Thank you. I'm trying to learn how to do Instagram. So
I'm terrible at it.
there won't be a lot on there yet. But I'm going to learn. I'm going to
One
put
of the
more
things I
on
did
there.
Goals.
is I started a web page when the internet first started. A
Oh.
livestock webpage, Grandin.com.
Yep.
Is I wanted to put lots of just good information on there. Just basic
Nice.
information, flight zone, point of balance, corral layouts.
Put
When
it all
you
there.
hit a paywall or hit a sign-in thing. I hate it when all the stuff comes up, all the cookie garbage comes up.
Oh, yeah.
I
And they
absolutely,
never give us cookies.
I know, right?
well, yeah, they just mess up your computer with stuff they put in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just make a place where people can get a lot of information, just good,
Yeah.
solid information.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still
That's
there.
what I did. I remember when I started that
Grandin.com.
website, I go, started when the internet's a dirt road, and it was a dirt road.
Yes.
I can remember
TempleGrandin.com.
Yeah, that's the autism one.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the autism one, and then Grandin.com is my livestock.
Yes.
And I
Grandin.
started that so early that when you typed in the word cattle, only 10 web pages came up.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was,
Wow. Back in the day.
that was back in the
Yeah.
day, yeah.
What
When it
internet?
first started, I remember those old search engines, Alta Vista.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was awful. And then when Google came out, and Google did a really innovative thing that was so simple and innovative, PageRank, and they copied academic citations. In other words, the more
Mhm.
web pages that linked a web page, like citations, then that web page would go, if you typed in cattle, would go on the top of the hits. They called it PageRank, and they just copied academic citations.
Huh.
And it was positively brilliant. When Google first came out, there was nothing to learn. It
Wow.
automatically assumed the Boolean algebra AND function, and you just started putting keywords in there. There was nothing to
Yep.
learn. That's why it took off.
I wonder how
The
many
rest is
websites
history.
you could get
Yeah.
now
And
with
why
that
did Apple
degree.
take off on phones? Because there was nothing to learn.
Mhm.
He was an artist. He wasn't a programmer. Steve Jobs was an artist.
Mhm.
And he said, I'm going to make products that people don't know they want it until they see it. Now everything on the iPhone
That's
is
true.
incremental.
Mhm.
The iPhone 4 was like a quantum leap loan design. Then everybody copied it, of course.
Mhm.
Of course.
Still are.
That's what happens. Well, thank you, everybody.
Well, I want to see people get out there and get good jobs. I'm sure you're going to edit this down some, I hope.
That's the plan.
We're not going to be going on
Yes.
about Denver airport aliens.
I don't know. I like the part about the Denver airport
Please keep that
aliens.
in.
Well, you can actually find, if you go deeper online, you can find
Okay.
stuff about Denver
I'm gonna
airport
go.
aliens.
Yeah. It's
I
Now, then
actually
you've got
worth
somebody
spending our
who's working
Sunday.
there now think this is stupid.
I actually think we should go
And
record a podcast there.
well, then every once in a while they'll put up one of the construction walls and they'll have one of the
Yeah.
old alien signs on it, kind of ripped up. And
I think we should dress as extraterrestrials and go record a podcast there. Next episode.
I'm in.
That
well,
sounds
the
like fun.
voodoo donut has a really cute alien guarding their place, and in the background there's the alien tunnels under the airport with secret stashes of pink voodoo donut boxes.
If I knew there were donuts hidden there.
No, I'm there.
I'd
Well,
be
I
there.
can't eat the gluten. I
I'm
don't
there.
touch them. I gotta make it
Yeah.
thick, so
I'll
that's
wear
something I do.
I'll wear a costume if you promise me the donuts.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a plan.
Okay.
We
got a plan.
Okay, guys. Have a great day. Thank you so much for your time, and
Thank you.
Thank
have
you.
a wonderful day.
Good
An
to talk
honor
to
to talk to
everybody.
y'all.
Good to talk to you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.